This interview was never intended to see the light of day. And yet, you are reading it. They say it was recorded in the spring of 1930. The journalist's name remains unknown. The manuscript was uncovered only recently, hidden within the pages of an old volume titled Electricity and Ether, buried in the archives of a New York library. On the final page, a handwritten note read, "Do not publish until humanity is ready." If you believe you know everything about Nikola Tesla, you may want to reconsider. He was more than a genius, the mind behind alternating current and radio waves. He was a man who dared to peer into places where, even now, people fear to look, beyond the veil of life itself. "Mr. Tesla," the interview began, "among the many legends about you, there is one particularly unusual. It's said that you believe in the soul, and in life after death." There was silence. Then, almost in a whisper, came the reply, "Believe? Number I know." The words were spoken with such unwavering conviction, the air in the room seemed to shift, as if the temperature dropped, and the very space around them acknowledged the truth in his voice. "Everything you see," Tesla continued, "is merely an illusion of density. Matter is compressed light. Everything is vibration. And vibrations are not limited to physics. They are memory. They are consciousness. They are the soul." The journalist blinked, startled. "But how does science explain such things?" Tesla offered a faint smile. "Science is still blind. It is just beginning to open its eyes. Cracks are forming. Light is breaking through, and that light is coming from within us." He paused, eyes fixed on a far corner of the room, as if he were hearing something invisible to others. "I've watched energy leave the human body at death, but it doesn't vanish. It doesn't dissipate into heat or sound. It holds form. It transitions. Something departs, yet nothing is lost." At this point in the manuscript, a footnote appears, unusual, possibly added later. Tesla's tone changed. He began speaking faster, more urgently, as if time was running out. "We are like lamps," he said. "There is a source. There is light. When the lamp goes out, the source still exists. Energy doesn't die. It transforms." According to the account, something strange occurred at that moment. The journalist's pen froze. The ink thickened on the page. The air around them grew dense, heavy, and alive. "You felt it," Tesla said calmly. "That is the first proof. The field of the soul is real. It influences matter, ink, paper, everything. And this is only the beginning." The journalist found his voice. "Excuse me," he said. "The field of the soul? That doesn't sound like physics." "Exactly," Tesla replied, nodding. "Because the physics you know is limited, but the soliki, it is not." He rose and walked to the window. Manhattan shimmered beyond the glass, yet his voice spoke not to the city, not even to the present, but to something further. The future, perhaps. "There are 5 proofs," he said. 5 that I personally experienced, studied, and documented. If even one is true, then death is not the end. It is a transition." The journalist leaned forward, transfixed. Tesla began. "The first is the out-of-body experience. I was working with powerful magnetic fields. One day, I found myself outside of myself, my body still in the lab, but my consciousness elsewhere, roaming the city. I saw streets, people, every detail. Later, all of it was confirmed." He paused, then added quietly, "This is not fantasy. This is the separation of consciousness. If it can happen in life, it can happen after death." He glanced at the journalist, who was now scribbling notes furiously. Tesla continued, The second proof is the electrical memory of objects. Thoughts, emotions, even events. They don't just affect people, they imprint onto matter. You've felt it. That sensation when you walk into an old house and feel sudden dread, or alternatively, deep peace. That's not imagination, that's memory. A trace left behind. Space remembers. The universe is a film, and everything is recorded. The third, Tesla closed his eyes, is the music of light. Every living being emits sound, not physically, not for the ear, but there are vibrations. A human being is a symphony, and when the body dies, the sound does not vanish. It remains. Sometimes, it can be sensed. He approached a device that resembled an antenna with wire pedals. I tried to catch this residual sound, not noise, but a sensation, as if someone is nearby, someone who is no longer here. The journalist couldn't contain himself. If all of this is true, why is there silence about it? Tesla looked at him with sadness. Because truth is dangerous. In a world built on the fear of death, the knowledge that death is not the end. It explodes everything. If we return, then we must answer for everything, but not before a court, before ourselves. He slowly waved his hand through the air, as if feeling an invisible fabric. The fourth proof is the connection between souls. Once, I fainted at the exact minute my friend died in Europe. Later, I received a letter. The date matched. That was not coincidence. We are connected. Death does not sever the thread. And the fifth? The journalist barely breathed. Tesla fell silent for a long time, and only then said, "Dreams that come true." Not predictions. Real conversations with those who have left. Sometimes the same image appears to different people in different countries on the same night. This is a bridge between worlds. He looked straight into the journalist's eyes. If you think this is mysticism, you are mistaken. This is science. It simply has not been described yet. Silence hung in the air, not empty, dense, like the stillness before a storm. Mr. Tesla, the journalist spoke as if with someone else's voice. If the soul exists, if death is not the end, why do we come into this world? Tesla's eyes darkened. A special kind of silence entered his voice, almost sacred. To learn, to suffer, to love, all at once. This is not a prison, he said. It is a school, sometimes a battlefield, but not a place of punishment. We come to remember who we are and to pass the lesson, 1 or 1,000, until we become light. He took a worn volume from the shelf. Do you know what this is? The voice of the silence. Eastern philosophy. I do not agree with all of it, but in one thing they are right. Death does not end the path. It only turns it. The journalist took notes, his hand trembling. Tell me honestly, are you afraid of death? Tesla shook his head. I know her. She came more than once. I heard her footsteps, and once she almost took me. And what did you feel? Peace. There is no pain there. No fear. Only memories. Pure, like the first snow. You see everything you've done and everything you didn't do. Whom you hurt, whom you saved. It is not a judgment. It is a mirror. He sat down again, weary, but his gaze remained clear, like that of someone who had already passed through what others still had ahead of them. We do not answer to anyone but to ourselves, to who we truly are, to who we were before birth, and who we will become after. The journalist closed his eyes. His head buzzed. And what awaits us after, specifically? Tesla looked into the void, as if recalling something. Imagine an ocean, but not of water, of energy. You are a drop, unique, with pain, with memory, with experience. When the body dies, you return to that ocean, but you remain yourself, only cleaner, without the mask. Do we meet those we loved? Family? If they also returned, and there was love between you, yes, love is the navigation of the soul. It connects. It is stronger than death. He spoke, and it seemed that the walls vibrated with his voice. I'll say more, he continued quietly. I tried to create a device capable of catching the transition, not death itself, but the moment consciousness exits. It almost worked. I felt a pulse, as if the heart of the universe beat in rhythm. And what happened? The journalist leaned forward. Tesla closed his eyes. They destroyed it. Those who fear the truth. Who? Those who rule through fear, religion, power, corporations. If death is not the end, then fear loses its power, and a person without fear is free. And the free cannot be controlled. Only the ticking of the clock was heard in the room. That's why this interview won't be released. Not yet. Not until the time comes. He stood up. His silhouette seemed to grow taller, stronger. If you are reading this, it means someone dared. It means the time has come. He stepped closer and said in almost a whisper, "We are eternal, not by body, by vibration. The soul is music, and death is not a pause. It is a change in key. Remember that." He began to walk around the room, choosing words as a surgeon selects instruments before an operation. I understand how it sounds, mysticism, the rambling of an old man. But if I hadn't felt it, seen it, measured it, I wouldn't believe it myself. The journalist was no longer just a listener. He was inside the story. But why is science silent? Because science fears the immeasurable, Tesla answered. It needs graphs, formulas. But the soul is not a formula. It is a state, a frequency, a field, a thought. He abruptly walked to the table and pulled out a drawing, strange, surrounded by symbols. In the center, a circle with a dot. This is not just geometry. This is a map of transition, a diagram by which the soul leaves the body and connects to the ether. But it can only be understood by one who remembers, not just knows. Is it a theory? No, he shook his head. It is a result. I worked with frequencies corresponding to states of consciousness. One range, emotions. Another, memory. A third, connection with those who are no longer here. He paused. Sometimes at night, when everything is quiet, I turn on the old generator. And if tuned correctly, you can hear, not with ears, with the soul. Hear what? Thoughts, other people's, not from the living. It's like a radio signal from beyond the horizon. At that moment, the light in the room flickered. The journalist flinched. Don't be afraid, Tesla smiled. They always give a sign when we speak of them. They? Those who left, but remained between layers, not because they were punished, but because they are not ready to leave, or are waiting. Waiting for whom? For those who can hear them. He stepped closer, his face turned serious, even stern. There's something else, something rarely spoken aloud. Not all souls are the same. Some get stuck after death. They cling to fear, to power, to desire. They cannot rise. They need energy, bodies. They are drawn to the living. You mean ghosts? I speak of fields of fear, where there was pain, war, violence. The ether becomes heavy. These places are traps. One can enter and not come out. The journalist turned pale, but Tesla added, there is also light, love, memory. Prayer, if it is from the heart, can set free. Not for God, for the soul. True compassion breaks the wall. He looked out the window. We live in a world where almost no one knows why they live. But if they knew that death is an exam, not an end, perhaps they would live differently, more purely, more deeply. The journalist wrote down, the energy of the soul does not die. It changes frequency. One last question, he whispered. Mr. Tesla, will you return? I never left, he said softly. As long as even one person seeks the truth, I am near. And in that very second, as stated in the discovered manuscript, the clock struck 3. 3 chimes, as if someone from the other side wished to confirm everything said was not fiction. Tesla fell silent again, then suddenly said, "There is one more secret I've told no one." The journalist held his breath. "What is it?" Tesla walked over to an old cabinet, opened a hidden drawer, and retrieved a small metal cylinder etched with strange symbols, runes, and intricate diagrams. "This is a prototype," he said. "I called it the echo catcher. It's designed to detect the energetic imprint of consciousness after death, not voices, not images, pure thought." "You received signals?" "Yes, several times. Phrases, thoughts, flashes of imagery. One of the clearest messages was, 'I am still here. Help me remember.'" "Do you know who it was?" Tesla shook his head. "Number." But the feeling was familiar, like I was speaking with myself, or with someone I once was. He sat down slowly, his voice lowering to a near whisper. "The memory of the soul is the most precious thing. We are born, and we forget, because if we remembered everything, we couldn't live. The weight of that pain would be too much. But sometimes a memory leaks through dreams, strange feelings, déjà vu." The journalist nodded. He had felt it himself, brief flashes of something that felt like memory, yet couldn't have existed. "You said everything is preserved. Where?" "In the ether. Imagine an ocean, vast and invisible. In it exists everything, thoughts, emotions, events. The ancients called it the Akasha. We are all just drops of the same ether." He looked into the journalist's eyes. "Picture every action you take as a note in a composition. You're writing music, and after death, you hear it all at once. No edits, no lies, just truth. That is judgment. But it's not external. You are the judge and the witness." The journalist shivered. "And if the music is dissonant, then the soul asks for another chance. It returns, in a new body, a new life, but with the same vibration inside." He paused, then added softly, "But there are other souls, the ones who've exited the cycle. They don't return. They've become light, guides. Their purpose is to help others remember who we really are." "Angels?" the journalist asked. Tesla gave a small smile. "Call them what you will. The name doesn't matter. The essence does. They are close, especially in darkness, especially when someone feels utterly alone. That presence is love, the kind that never dies." The journalist glanced at the clock. Time seemed to no longer apply. "And what if someone lives their whole life without love?" "Then they return," Tesla replied, "because only love shapes the soul. Without it, there is no growth, just repetition." He stood. His shadow stretched long, like a tree cast against the fading light of day. "I'm not sharing this for sensation. I say it because I know I won't be here much longer, and this knowledge must not die with me." He placed the cylinder gently into the journalist's hands. "Keep it. And if the time comes, pass it on. And if it never comes?" "It will," Tesla said, "when the first person remembers who they are." The journalist held the device as if it were alive. It felt warm, pulsing gently, like breath. "What am I supposed to do with it?" he whispered. Tesla looked at him with quiet gravity. "Don't rush. Keep it close. Listen to yourself. When the time is right, it will tell you." Silence fell. The room seemed to inhale with them. "One more question," the journalist asked. "If you knew all of this, was no one else aware?" Tesla turned toward the window. Dawn had begun to stretch faint light across the sky. There were others, but only a few. Most chose silence, out of fear or humility. The truth is like fire. It warms, but it also burns. You cannot force it on someone. You can only offer it. He took a breath. I almost revealed everything once. In Colorado, I was giving a lecture on resonance. I meant to speak of the soul, about the invisible threads between people. And just as I began, an official arrived. The lecture was stopped. After that, I stayed quiet. The journalist bowed his head. And now? Now, I speak, because I know the time is near. He stepped closer. You think this interview is just a story, but it's a seed. It will take root in someone's mind, and it will grow, not in all, but in those who are ready. He leaned in. And if you're hearing this now, maybe this is the sign. The journalist rose to his feet. He felt it. This moment was both an ending and a beginning. One last thing, he said, voice trembling. Who are we? Tesla didn't hesitate. We are light that has forgotten, but it is still light, and everything we do is the journey back home. They shook hands, simple, human, and then a faint chime echoed in the air. No visible source, no reason. They are here, Tesla whispered, already listening. He walked to the window. See, dawn, still pale, but it's coming. The journalist left. The door closed softly behind him, and later he would write, I walked out a different man, as if someone had awakened inside me. Not in my mind, in my heart. The interview was never published. The papers were locked away in a box, the cylinder stored with personal belongings, until nearly a century later, when the box was found, and now you are holding it through these words. And perhaps, not by chance. Because as Tesla once said, death is not a period. It is a comma, after which we continue to write, in another language. If this story moved you, leave a like. For you, it's just a second. For us, it's a chance to keep sharing what matters. Tell us what you felt in the comments. We read every word. There is more truth in them than in headlines that scream. And of course, subscribe. More stories are coming. Stories that don't just speak, but awaken. Truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. The key is knowing how to listen. See you soon.